All right, let me see. Turn that off. There we go. I'm gonna hold on for a second. Let me kill a little time before we get into some serious business here. As I get this whole situation set up. Jesus, man. What an absolute disaster of performance, man. It's not even fun. Oi. There we go. That's better. I'll probably, I would like to go with Amy, but I also could go with flowers here. Yeah, that's the right place to go with it. Whoop! Gotta get everything set up here before we ultimately get started. Get off me. Get off me. It's gonna be an interesting one today. Was not prepared to do this today. But this right here has to be talked about. And we can go more towards Andrews if you could. Andrews, golly, that's a terrible throw. There was nowhere. Wait a minute, it's 3rd and inches? I didn't even recognize what it was. I thought we had the first down. Screw that. I thought we had the first down. Never mind. Never mind. I thought we had the first down. My mistake. All right. Ooh. Do need to do a couple setups as I get ready for this. I know I'm going with the ball. There it is. Oh, God. Damn offensive line. All right. We should be set here. Couple things that we got to do before we get started. Welcome to everybody that's just coming in. Give us a few moments because trust me, we're going to get started on this. It's has to be discussed. Oh, God. Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. You're giving me nothing but crap. What is this play? Why do I have to rely on Aguilar? Oh, no. This is terrible. Okay. Let me see if I can buy time here. I can buy enough time. Let's go. Oh, my God. What's going on, man? What's going on, man? I'm just messing around right now. What's going on, Loyal? I'm just messing around right now. We are going to get started soon. Just waiting. Just trying to get a couple more people in here because we getting ready to talk about this. This has to be discussed. So I'm just messing around right now, not really trying to focus on anything specifically here. Oh, that's a terrible throw. What type of... You're not going to tell me Lamar can't throw on a run. What is Madden doing? It don't even matter. But yeah, we getting ready to get started here. Let me do a couple more things. Oh, no, I didn't mean to press that. I didn't mean to press that. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Let's play that. But we got conversations that need to be made. What happened with Todd Monken? Oh, don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. We're going to get into this. We're going to get into this, guys. We're going to get into this. We're going to get into this. Because this right here is nothing short of disgusting. And if I was Todd Monken, man, I'm walking away. Because if I'm the issue, all right, bro. All right, cool. Good luck getting your season back together since I'm the problem. But we'll get into it, guys. We'll get into it soon. You guys know I love giving a little bit of space before we fully get into these things. God, there's nothing to run here on the 3rd down situation. I kind of want to blitz him, but oh, God. I can go to cover 6 real quick. I don't think he'll see it from cover 2 to cover 6. He won't be ready for it. That's a pick! And you can't catch it. Oh, don't worry. We're going to get into this. We are going to get into this. We are going to get into this. Just a few things I got to do here as I am setting up, and then we're going to get into this. Because I have not actually given my thoughts about this whole situation. But this must be addressed. Because this right here is unacceptable. And I find it very funny how things are going. All of a sudden, we want to throw the... All the blame, all the criticism on one person now, huh? I thought we were about holding people accountable. Apparently not. Okay, let's see if we can pick this up. There we go. But yeah, we're gonna get into this real soon. We're gonna get into this real soon. We're gonna get into this real soon. Because I find it very interesting how this is going. But we're gonna get into this real soon. But how you guys doing today? As I'm killing time. How you guys doing today? I hope you guys are doing well. I'm not doing well. I'm actually kind of mad right now. I'm not happy right now because oh no, we're gonna get into it. We'll share our thoughts and our conversations. We're gonna get into it. But I'm not happy right now. I will not lie to you. Not a good day. Not a good day for me. Not a good day for me at all. Not a good day for me at all. I expected the battle, I expected the fight, but we got a huge punch in the mouth. And a huge punch in the mouth. Just like this is it's not a knockout punch. It's not a knockout punch. But damn. It's something. It ain't a knockout punch, but it is something. Ooh wee, it's something. Dodgers got blown out today. That's not what I expected to see when I woke up today. Um, to be honest, still feel good. I felt good going into the series. Said it was going to be the toughest series we faced all postseason, and I expected the Blue Jays to win a game. I wasn't quite sure if I thought it was going to be game one or game two. In all honesty, I'm not going to lie. I expected the Blue Jays to win game two. I didn't expect them to win game one, and I didn't expect them to do this in a dominant fashion. I did not expect the Dodgers to get dominated in game one. I thought game one was going to be very close, a tough game that came down to the wire, and the Dodgers will do what they've been able to do, find a way to close out this game in the biggest moment, and ultimately win. Then I thought game two was going to be a whirlwind where we would see the offensive prowess of the Blue Jays. So what we're seeing tonight is what I expected to see in game two. Like legit, what I saw tonight was what I expected to see in game two. I did not expect to see this tonight, and I didn't expect to see it to this magnitude. The Dodgers need to understand. Well, not even understand. I'm pretty sure they know this. The offense needs to show up. I don't think this needs to continue to be said about the Dodgers, but their offense has not really shown up throughout the postseason. The reason they're here is primarily because of their pitching and their defense. That's it. But our hitters have not been hitting. Our guys have struggled to hit, mostly hit in key situations. But we've been able to get through to the World Series because of our elite pitching and our great defense. And we've made a lot of great plays to get here. But offensively, we're averaging like two and a half, 3 runs a game in the postseason. When you're dealing with a Blue Jays team that's averaging damn near 6, you have to be able to score. And we have not been able to score. That is a problem. So for the Dodgers, they need to wake themselves up and figure out how they're going to score because they cannot rely on elite pitching to get them through this series through and through. They have to carry their weight. It's time for the offense to carry their weight. And if they're not willing to carry their weight, well then they're not going to repeat. It's as simple as that. Blake Snell got the crap kicked out of him today. I will not lie to you. He got the crap kicked out of him. It wasn't even a conversation. I mean, he got absolutely smoked out there. Oh my goodness. They smoked him. They smoked him, and I will not lie to you. But then the bullpen came out there and made it worse. You could have survived, you know. You could have survived. They smoked him, but it was still within the reasonable range. You could have survived. But then the bullpen came out there and got obliterated. So I don't think our bullpen is going to be able to hold up throughout this series, which is why the offense needs to show up. Yamamoto, you're up for game two. Best of luck. Best of luck, buddy. That's all I have to say for that. You're up for game two. If you are not ready to go, ultimately, we could be in danger of going down 0-2 heading back to LA. And yes, you're going to have games 3, 4, and 5 in LA. So it does help you in that aspect of having 3 games in your building. But let's be honest, man. I just I just don't like what I'm seeing from this team offensively. So Dodgers got to pick it up. Dodgers got to pick it up offensively. You had two opportunities with the bases loaded. You had two opportunities to break this game open. You didn't. The Blue Jays got the bases loaded. They broke the game open. That's how you do it. If we can't do that, we're not going to win. Anyway, guys, it's time to pause here. Let's get into this. So, there's been a lot of talks coming out, some reports, some articles that have been coming around in regards to what's been going on in the Ravens locker room, what's led to this 1-5 start, some of the problems, quote unquote. And there's been a frequent name that has shown up here, and that has been Todd Monken. Now, when we are watching this Ravens team, we have seen there's problems everywhere. There's been problems with execution on the field. There's been problems with performance on the field. There's been problems with play calling. There's been problems with management. I think you got to look at the players and realize that the players are not delivering on the field. You got to look at the coaches and realize that the coaches are not putting their players in the best situation. You got to realize that our head coach is probably not doing the best job to manage the game. And all of this comes to a huge reality. It comes to a huge burst of reality in which the Ravens are 1-5 because of this, because of poor play, lack of execution on the field, questionable/poor play calling, and questionable/poor game management by our head coach. You mix that in with the fact that the Ravens have suffered injuries to several of their main starters, including our starting quarterback in Lamar Jackson, and you get a whole aspect of the Ravens being 1-5. So we all understand that. It's been a mix of everything. Offense has had its issues. The offensive line has not been doing a great job blocking. The protection's not been there. There has been times where certain receivers are not getting open and executing. There has been times where the quarterback play hasn't been up to snuff. Though with Lamar, it was fine. It was more so the late game turnovers, specifically Derrick Henry fumbling in the worst moments of the game. He did that against Buffalo. He did that against Detroit. I mean, him fumbling in the worst moments of the game ultimately shifted how things were going. So Derrick Henry fumbling the ball, the fumbling issue that's going around with the Ravens has been a problem. Guys are not holding on to the ball. We don't have a lot of interceptions coming out of Baltimore because Lamar does not throw a lot of picks. But the way we get turnovers on this offense is through fumbles. Lamar will fumble. Derrick Henry will fumble. Mark Andrews will fumble. Bateman at times has fumbled. We've seen, well, not this year, but I mean, like, we've seen throughout this era with the Ravens. Isaiah Likely would fumble. Zay Flowers would fumble. It's just been nothing but fumbles. We end up turning the ball over because we're fumbling, not because Lamar's throwing a bunch of picks. That's not how the turnovers happen here. A lot of fumbles happen, so these turnovers are adding up because we can't hold on to the ball. So ball protection has not been there. The offensive line has not done a great job in protecting the quarterback, be it Lamar Jackson, be it Cooper Rush, or be it Tyler Huntley. The protection has not been there. And then the quarterback play hasn't been great. EDC is going to have to bite the bullet on this one. EDC is going to have to bite the bullet. 100% going to have to bite the bullet. The Cooper Rush signing was a flop, a complete flop, and he has to bite the bullet. Complete disappointment. And we had already seen throughout the training camp, he wasn't doing well. He wasn't performing well in training camp. He wasn't performing well in the preseason games. So it's not a shock that he gets in there with this offensive line and the way they're looking, and he absolutely flops and plays like trash. 4 interceptions in 2 games that he played. Absolute garbage. Complete trash. Nothing more to be said there. That was a flop by EDC. No question. So the quarterback play has been problematic. The offensive line hasn't done a great job blocking. The turnovers, i.e. the fumbles, in key situations, all of this has translated to the issues with the offense. But we can't forget the most part that has definitely been an issue. Play calling and execution. Todd Monken's play calling has been problematic. There's been a lack of creativity with the offense. Defenses have noticed this. When Derrick Henry's on the field, 8 out of 10 times, we're running the ball with Derrick Henry. When he's off the field, 8 times out of 10, we're passing. Teams have recognized this and they have adjusted. When Derrick Henry's there, they're going to stack the box because they know we're going to throw it. When Derrick Henry's off, they're going to back up into coverage. They're going to play their spies to focus on Lamar, and they're going to go from there. It's a whole aspect of them figuring out how this offense is is coordinating and going. They've figured out how we are choosing to use Derrick Henry. That has led to the predictability and how defenses have done a good job in being able to slow down Derrick Henry past week 1. So the offense is starting to become predictable in terms of how we're using Derrick Henry. Number 2, the offense, specifically at the goal line, with and without Lamar, has been poor. Goal line execution and goal line play calling have been abysmal this year. We were top 3, if not number 1 last year in goal line execution and goal line play calling. This year, we're about middle of the road to maybe one of the worst now. It has not been good at all. It has not been good at all. It has not been good at all. We don't even need to pretend. So yes, with all of this being said, I want to start off by saying Todd Monken is not blameless. Todd Monken is not blameless in the slightest. His play calling has been questionable at times. His play calling on the goal line has been abysmal. And there's been times where we'll have certain game plans and he'll completely choose to run away from it early on because it's not having any level of success. He'll completely abandon it. All of these aspects are true. So we need to make sure we recognize that Todd Monken is part of the problem that has led to the Ravens being 1-5. Is he the primary problem? No. But is he part of the issue? Yes. We have to be fair and biased, not biased, be fair and unbiased to make sure that we are presenting this as clearly as we can, to make sure we are looking at both sides. Todd Monken has been an issue this year. He has been part of the problem when it comes to what's happening offensively. It is not all his fault. Like I said, execution matters. The offensive line hasn't been doing well. Guys are fumbling the ball, and guys are not executing on some of these plays. But his play calling has been problematic this year. His play calling on the goal line has been problematic this year. These are things we have to recognize. His game plan and his decision to change that game plan early on has been problematic. So there are issues we're seeing here. We have to be fair. So yes, Todd Monken has his issues. But we cannot sit here and act like he is the primary issue, like he's the only issue. He's the only problem. There's nothing else that's wrong. He's the only problem here. That's where we have to start fighting back, which leads us to what's going on here with this whole thing. So Todd Monken right now is getting a lot of heat. During this bye week, there was a whole aspect of reports that were going out and a whole aspect of conversations being had, anonymous players speaking to these publicists and speaking about their grievances about what's been happening and what's led to this team starting 1-5. We're not going to know who said what, but there are anonymous players in that locker room or anonymous personnel in that locker room that have been speaking about some of the issues that have been going on here. That's why we know about the report about the quote-unquote toys and games being taken out of the locker room. So this has been going on for the last few weeks, and we got the reports during the bye week. And it has been quite interesting to see the level of chaos that's been happening here. But what's been so surprising is how, of all these reports, there's been one coach that has stood out in the level of criticism, and that's been Todd Monken. We saw John Harbaugh on multiple occasions criticize Todd Monken publicly to the media. He hasn't done this once. He's done it on multiple occasions where he has actively criticized Todd Monken. Actively criticized Todd Monken publicly. Publicly to the media. So there's a clear aspect here. There's a clear aspect. There's a clear issue. Todd Monken's the problem. That's basically what we've been getting from these aspects of criticism that we've been hearing in regards to John Harbaugh publicly. But then you get to the aspect of the private aspect of this. You get to the aspect of privacy. You get to the private matters. And then you get this report. And all of a sudden, there's only one coach's name that's being brought up when it comes to issues in the locker room, and that's Todd Monken. So I have this report here, or at least this article here, which everybody has seen. It's been going around from the Baltimore Banner. I am going to choose to read this because this takes a look into the Ravens' chaotic season that has led to this 1-5 start. So I am going to I'm going to read this article here. It's a live stream. I can go as long as I want. Thank God this is not a video. So I'm going to read this article to you guys, and you feel free to comment how you feel about certain things that are being said in this article. So the article that was on the Baltimore Banner, the Ravens season of disconnect, how losing exposed problems, rifts on offense. Sources spoke on background to discuss the locker room's frustrations, particularly with offensive coordinator Todd Monken. So, as the Ravens look to turn around the spiraling season, some players have grown confused and frustrated by coordinator Todd Monken's play calling, according to team sources. Over his first two record-breaking seasons in Baltimore, Monken typically followed the plan he laid out to players and coaches during their week of preparation. Their only notable exception, sources told the Banner, was in the Ravens' loss to the Kansas City Chiefs in the 2023 AFC Championship game, when running backs Gus Edwards and Justice Hill combined for just 6 carries. But this year, Monken has surprised some around the team with his play calls, deviating before the Ravens have even fallen behind in games. That approach, sources said, has created a disconnect with players who've practiced certain plays during the week and felt good about how they were executed, only for a different approach to be adopted in games. After 81 total points in Week 1 and Week 2, the Ravens' offensive production has steadily dropped, with progressively fewer points in each outing over the 4-game losing streak. Some struggles were to be expected after star quarterback Lamar Jackson suffered a hamstring injury in a Week 4 loss to the Chiefs, sidelining him for the next 2 games and potentially keeping him out of Sunday's crucial home game against the Chicago Bears. But several sources who spoke with the Banner on the condition of anonymity to freely discuss the team's dynamics said they believe the Ravens have the talent to overcome Jackson's absence and that they felt let down by the uncharacteristic changes to the offensive schemes. An unexpected 1-5 start in Baltimore has left players and coaches searching for answers. There are obvious culprits. 4 of the losses have come to Super Bowl contenders, and injuries to defensive lineman Nnamdi Madubuike, Jackson, and others have forced them to rely on young, inexperienced players. A leaky defense has been one of the NFL's most disappointing units. An inconsistent offensive line has struggled to create running lanes to protect the pocket. You see how they pointed out how the offensive line has been inconsistent and struggled? Yet our coaches don't want to point out that the offensive line has been poor. They've made all the excuses in the world for the offensive line being good. But you can see here clearly in the article, an inconsistent offensive line has struggled to create running lanes to protect the pocket. Everybody can clearly see the problem with the offensive line, but John Harbaugh will stand up in the media and act like nothing's happening, and no changes will be made to the offensive line. Just keep that in mind. But there's also been a current of disconnect with Monken, who entered his 3rd season in Baltimore as a potential head coaching candidate. Sources said Monken's hard-driving style has not resonated with certain players amid the team's struggles, with one saying the 59-year-old who spent most of his coaching career in college is still getting better with handling professional athletes. Even though he's been a offensive coordinator in the league for 2 other NFL teams when he was with Jacksonville and Cleveland, but that's a different conversation. Monken's agent did not reply to a request for a follow-up interview after the coach answered questions from reporters on Thursday. Sources who spoke to the Banner said Monken has not lost the trust of the offense. Many players believe, based on his first 2 years in Baltimore, that he can still help them win games. But they've questioned his approach as a once promising season has deteriorated. While they pushed back against the notion that the offense lacks creativity, one player saying that's a lazy way of putting it, some players have taken issues with the rhythm and timing of his calls. Some players feel Monken, as part of an effort to spread the ball around, has overcomplicated his approach. At the same time, sources said the Ravens have become too predictable with their personnel tendencies, which we just discussed. There has been predictability with how they are managing their personnel. When Derrick Henry's on the field, defenses know 8 times out of 10, we're going to run the ball with Derrick Henry. When he's off the field, 8 times out of 10, defenses know we're going to throw the ball. But as the Ravens look to orchestrate a dramatic turnaround, only 4 NFL teams in modern league history have started 1-5 and gone on to make the playoffs. The sources hope their concerns will be taken into consideration. While the Ravens' defense has been historically bad at points this season, both players and coach John Harbaugh have actively defended coordinator Zachary Ward. Did you hear that? While the Ravens defense has been historically bad at points this season, both players and Coach John Harbaugh have actively defended coordinator Zach Orr. And a historically bad defense, yet not an ounce of criticism for Zachary Orr. Nothing short of being defended by both the players and the head coach. Yet with Todd Monken, it's different. And the article continues. The vibe around Monken has been different. Harbaugh has openly laid blame at his feet after the 37-20 loss of the Chiefs. He questioned certain play calls and rebuked the staff for 2 delay-a-game penalties in a single series. This is Harbaugh saying this. I mean, that's play calling. Harbaugh said last month when asked after the game about short yardage failures. I am not going to sit here and say I'm happy about it at all. I am sure Todd is not happy about it either. None of us are. You have to look at that and decide what you want to run there. In some of those circumstances and situations, if they work, they look good. The Chiefs threw the ball on 4th and short and 3rd and short a few times and completed them. So maybe we just need better plays that are going to pop open. Maybe we have to do a better job of game planning in those plays. Interesting how we have to do a better job in game planning those plays that you blatantly stated that the Chiefs threw the ball on 4th and short and 3rd and short a few times and completed them. So why didn't your defense stop those? They had a couple opportunities to make some stops on 4th down. Why didn't your defense make stops? 3rd down, why didn't your defense make stops? You notice how, instead of also speaking on that aspect of the fact that the defense was giving up 3rd and short and 4th and short to the Chiefs offense, instead of focusing on that, he made sure to emphasize we got to be able to do the same thing too. The Chiefs were able to execute on 3rd down and 4th down situations. We got to run plays like that too. Why didn't your defense stop them? Huh? John, why didn't your defense stop them? No accountability being held for the defense. But all of this is being put on the offense. Interesting how the accountability is all on Todd Monken, but not an ounce of criticism is being thrown towards Zachary Orr. Very interesting how that's working. Let's continue. Monken didn't shrink from his boss's critiques and took ownership of the offensive shortcomings in the game. One thing that I've done throughout my career is that you got to look at what you do, Monken said. And that's what I've done my whole career. Is okay, how do we scheme it? How do we coach it? How do we execute it? How was our plan? All of those things we can go into. And when it's below the line, you've got to own it and fix it. The Ravens' offense was explosive, if inconsistent, with Jackson under center, averaging 34.7 points in the 3 games he finished. But without the 2-time NFL MVP, without the 2-time NFL MVP available, the offense has been largely discombobulated. Sources said some of that stems from Monken's style. While Orr, 33, is a former Ravens player, he even has a former teammate still on the roster in the defensive lineman Brent Urban, which is true, who often celebrates on the sideline. Monken operates from more of a remove because he's up in the he's up in the booth as opposed to being down there with them. Around the facility, even sources who do not get along with Monken have a grudging respect for him. Jackson won MVP in 2023, Monken's first year in Baltimore, and was even better last season when he finished second in voting. The 2024 Ravens led the league in yards per play, yards per game, and red zone touchdown rate, and finished 3rd in 3rd down conversion rate and points per game. This year, the offense's recent struggles have raised questions about Monken's locker room buy-in. It's not imperative that players have amicable relationships with their coordinator, sources said, but it can't hurt. One source explained that better connections with play callers can lead to better play calls, as there's a greater understanding of players' strengths and weaknesses going into games. Sources said Monken is not always an easy person to work with or for. Players have clashed with him in meetings, with some storming out midway through. Monken arrived in Baltimore with a reputation as a tough love coach, but some players have found the love part does not feel genuine. That is something we should talk about. That is absolutely something we should talk about. Winning, of course, kept things running smoothly over its first 2 years in Baltimore, but a 1-5 record has left some cracks showing. On Thursday, Monken was asked at a press conference whether he feels this season has tested his relationship with coaches and players. No, not at all, Monken said. I don't see it that way. Coach Harbaugh has set an unbelievable culture of confronting everything that gets in the way of winning football. We're frustrated, but we're not deterred. I love our energy this week. We're fired up. We're ready to go. We've had a couple of great practices. Looking forward to see how it turns out on Sunday, but I don't feel that way. This isn't my first rodeo here. This isn't like I just showed up. So I've said that before. We've been really damn good around here, and we expect to be good again. Still, there's a feeling, sources said, that those charged with executing Monken's vision are not always aligned with his approach. Over the bye week, the Ravens brought out 4 assistant coaches for their first and only news conference since the end of training camp. 2 answers from that session appear to indicate discord. When asked why the Ravens were able to run the ball better in their Week 6 loss against the Los Angeles Rams, offensive line coach George Warhurst suggested it was not an execution problem, but a philosophical one. That depends on how we approach a game from an offensive perspective, Warhurst said. If we choose to run the ball, I think we have the capabilities of running the ball. So really, it's how we decide how we want to approach a game. Quarterbacks coach T. Martin, was asked whether Jackson, who had been sacked 15 times in 4 games after taking just 23 sacks in 17 games a year. Whoa. Jackson was sacked 17 times last year? Damn. How many sacks was he breaking out of? Sorry, let me get back into this. I didn't realize 17 sacks last year, and he didn't win MVP? Dan Orlovsky, you're going to pay for your crimes, bro. But yeah, after taking just 23 sacks in 17 games a year ago, should try to get the ball out faster. He directed the question to Monken. Some things are within the plays that are called, where we're trying to get the ball out, and sometimes routes are deeper developing, Martin said. If you're in 3rd and 8 or 9, you're not going to throw the ball for 5 yards. Todd was just here at the podium before me. It's a kind of question for him, but our job is to execute the plays that are called and do the best we can to get the ball out. Ravens players still have faith that the offense can get going with Monken in charge, sources said, but only if he worries less about spreading touches around. The question of whether the Ravens would be able to feed so many talented players this season became a talking point during training camp, but players said then and still believe that a veteran roster would not get bogged down in worrying about who gets the ball. Sources said Monken has overcomplicated his approach, creating confusion with substitutions and play variations that have prevented the offense from finding its rhythm. Some players feel the offense is well designed, but disagree with how calls are being deployed. The Ravens' goal line failure at the end of the first half against the Rams, for example, has lingered. Players have confidence that 3 runs from the 1-yard line should have been enough to reach the end zone and take a 10-3 lead into halftime. But players felt that Monken's play calls, including 2 tush-push attempts with tight end Mark Andrews, were out of step with the game flow and the Ravens' matchup advantages, sources said. Sources also pointed to the offense's 4th down struggles against the Chiefs. The Ravens finished 1 for 4 with Jackson in for the first failed attempt and backup Cooper Rush going 1 for 3 in the 4th quarter of the blowout loss. While there were shortcomings in the execution, the formations and play calls were noticeable. On the Ravens' first 4th down failure, Henry was on the sideline for a 4th and 1 dropback. Jackson ended up throwing the ball out of play under pressure. On another 4th and 2 play with Rush at quarterback, Henry was again missing. Hill was lined up at receiver, and wide receiver Rashad Bateman was in the backfield. Rush overthrew Bateman, who was running a route well short of the first down sticks, on a pass that also ended up out of play. The Ravens have been unable to find ways to sustain drives, ranking 28 in time of possession per game. Last season, they were 6th. This leaves the defense with little time to rest, further weakening their performance. Monken's offense has been better on opening drives, which are often scripted. The Ravens have scored on 9 of their first 12 half opening drives. Where things seem to be falling apart is when Monken has more room to improvise. Some Ravens players, according to sources, believe that with 2+ years of Monken's offense on tape for opponents to study, they've become predictable. Harbaugh has, in recent weeks, downplayed any concerns around the idea and said after the loss to the Kansas City Chiefs that the offense broke from some tendencies, but sources said Harbaugh has been harping on the topic behind closed doors. Monken said Thursday that he doesn't think his game plan has been predictable. We've had tendencies the last 2 years, he said. If you're really good, you have tendencies. That's what you do. When you look on film, they look at what you do well and what you don't do well. When you're struggling, you have tendencies. When you're not doing well, you have tendencies. Tendencies aren't really the issue. It's, do you know them? Do you know what they're seeing? And how do you combat them? The Ravens, according to sources, started addressing some issues before their loss to the Rams. Players have said that their bye week came at a great time to allow coaches to figure out solutions. When the team returned this week, sources said coaches had a plan in place. Monken, for his part, has accepted responsibility at his weekly news conferences for the offensive struggles and for a need to find a fix. While some sources say Monken's tone can be arrogant, they said he's acknowledged he needs to adapt. Players have also reckoned with their own role in the offensive troubles. While the unit is executing at a higher level than the defense, it's not perfect. That, sources said, is partly because the players never expected to have overcome these sort of issues. The Ravens came into the season with high expectations inside and outside team headquarters. Around Baltimore, many media members were picking them to win the Super Bowl. While at least publicly, players claimed to not pay attention to the predictions, sources said the locker room grew overconfident. Of course they did. Of course they did. You didn't do anything. You haven't won anything, but whatever. Even in the fourth quarter of the Ravens season opener against the Buffalo Bills, many players were convinced there was no way the game would slip away. Is that not an indictment on coaching? A group of overconfident players? What do you have to be overconfident for? You haven't done anything! Why would you be You've won nothing. You've done nothing. But you're overconfident? If there was a report that said the Chiefs were overconfident, fine. They've won 3 championships. If you said Philly was overconfident, fine. They're coming off of a dominant playoff run in the Super Bowl. What have you guys done in that locker room to deserve any type of overconfidence? Is that not a problem with the coaching? We'll get into that. Even in the fourth quarter of the Ravens season opener against the Buffalo Bills, many players were convinced there was no way the game would slip away. We let our reputation get to our heads, one source said. The embarrassing 41-40 loss should have been a warning to players that simply wearing a Ravens uniform wouldn't be enough. You would think so. But as things went downhill in subsequent weeks, players kept counting the losses. The Ravens' blowout loss to the Houston Texans in Week 5 was a wake-up call. They played a better week later against the Rams, but with Jackson sidelined, they still lost. Heading into the bye, many players were stunned by their record. Oh, wow! Really? I would... All right. We're 1-5 is how one source described the mentality in the locker room. Another, well, he said what the F, but I'm not about to swear here. What the F, we're 1-5, is how one of the sources described the mentality in the locker room. Another said coaches and players mentioned their record every day. When the team returned this week from a much-needed bye, the Ravens had a motivational speaker, Eric Thomas, lined up. He talked about the 2011 Giants, oh, for God's sakes, who finished the regular season 9-7, but went on a playoff run and won a Super Bowl. The message to the players, it was time to stop focusing on how their first 6 games went and start focusing on what their 11 remaining regular season games could be. How much of an impact will the reset have on the team and the Ravens staff? The team will see on Sunday. And that is the article, ladies and gentlemen. That is the article. How do you guys feel? How do you guys feel after hearing this article? There's a lot of things that stick out here. Todd Monken is not well liked within that organization. Todd Monken is not well liked. I told you guys Todd Monken was not a John Harbaugh guy. This article here proves my point. He's not a John Harbaugh guy. In fact, he's not even well liked by a certain group of individuals. He's not well liked within that organization. It's just he's done a damn good job with Lamar in this offense that at the end of the day, they have to show respect for what he's done. But he's not well liked there. He's not well liked. That's one thing that's clearly pointed out. 1, he's not well liked. 2, Todd Monken, which we've already said, has issues of his own, which we already knew, and has made mistakes that has hurt the team, and has been a partial reason as to why we've lost. We've pointed all of this out. I don't have a problem with the reports coming out and saying, yeah, the players are having problems with Todd Monken changing up the game plan early when we're not even behind. He'll see something, things aren't going well early on, he'll change the game plan. Players have a problem with that because they spent the whole week practicing one thing, they practice this game plan, and then just like that, Todd Monken game time changes the game plan to something else. That's frustrating players. I understand that. That is a problem. That is a criticism that we'll talk about. Getting away from the game plan too early. We said this after the Chiefs lost. They got away from the game plan too early, the way they always do. They do this with every offensive coordinator they've had. When they're going up against the Chiefs, they get away from the game plan far too easily and far too quickly. Greg Roman was doing the same. Todd Monken has been doing that here. And he's accepted responsibility and took accountability when he was asked about this during the press conferences. So it's not like he's just been denying this. He took full responsibility for what's been happening. He took that accountability. But we're seeing he's not well liked within that organization. Some think he's arrogant. Some think that he's not genuine. He talks about tough. He comes off as a coach that is going to bring that tough love. But some players don't think the love part of that aspect is genuine. So there is a lot of negative discord towards Todd Monken in that locker room. That's one thing that clearly pops off from that article. He's not well liked in that organization. Not by everybody, but by a few select that have been quiet because his offense has been successful. That's one. Two, the players have issues with his game plan. They have issues with how he's choosing to execute in some of these, and how he's choosing to call these games at certain moments. And I think they're really having issue with his game plan being so disconnect and just flowing erratically. You're at the goal line at the 1 yard line. Instead of handing the ball to Derrick Henry, let's do 3 quarterback sneaks. I'm sorry. Instead of handing the ball to Derrick Henry on 2nd and goal, back-to-back quarterback sneaks. With Mark Andrews. Yeah. Todd Monken has had his problems. We cannot deny that. Todd Monken has had his issues. Everything that was stated in that article I just read, we talked about most of those. I didn't realize that it was not well liked in the locker room. I didn't realize just how much they've been getting on Todd Monken's case because they don't like how he's doing things. I did not realize that. But in terms of what's been happening with the play calling and everything on the field, in terms of what's been coming to light to us, the fans, to us, the public, in terms of the play calling, yeah, he's had problems. He's had problems with his play calling. He's had problems with his game plan and moving away from that too quickly. He's had a lot of problems. He has. But I didn't realize he was not that well liked by certain individuals in this organization and that people were players were actively going at him in these meetings. He's not well liked there. I don't know how long that, I don't know what to say, but I don't know how long he's going to last in Baltimore, man. If you're telling me there's friction like this, you got some individuals in the organization that don't like him, and then players are going at him in meetings and they're not liking what he's doing out there, I ain't gonna lie. Not a good thing. It seems like they don't like Todd Monken the person, or not Todd Monken the person, excuse me. They don't like Todd Monken the coach, but they do believe that he has the capability to help them turn this around. Because again, with Lamar Jackson there, the offense was averaging nearly 33 points a game. The offense was averaging nearly 33 points a game in the 4 games Lamar Jackson played. So even if they don't like his coaching methods, they don't like his coaching style, they don't like who he is as a coach, they still understand that they need him in order to get this offense going and let this offense be where it needs to be. So yeah, a lot of the stuff that was said in this article in terms of what's been happening in the game, we've already pointed out. We know Todd Monken has issues. But in terms of the internal stuff, I don't know. I don't know about that. And that makes me think that he's not well liked here. I don't know how long Todd Monken is going to last as the offensive coordinator. But that's not the only thing that really stood out to me. We read it early on. The Ravens' defense has been historically bad, yet the players and John Harbaugh have done nothing but consistently stick up for him. There has not been a single ounce of criticism that has been thrown at that's been thrown at Zachary Orr. Not a single ounce of criticism has been thrown at Zachary Orr. But all the criticism in the world is being thrown at Todd Monken. We started this stream making sure we specified that Todd Monken has been an issue. We spoke on the issues. We spoke on his problems. We criticized him. We started the stream this way by doing that so that we can make sure to emphasize that he is part of the problem. But we also did that to showcase a glaring problem with this entire situation. Todd Monken should get criticism. Todd Monken has been a part of the problem with the 2025 Baltimore Ravens. But the fact that he's the only one getting this criticism, the fact that he's the only one getting this blame, I find it to be laughable. I find it to be hilarious. And it makes me look at this and truly think that Todd Monken is being scapegoated. He's being utilized as a scapegoat. I spoke about this in the last live stream. They won't throw criticism at Zachary Orr. They'll throw all the criticism at Todd Monken. The Ravens have had a historically bad defense. No criticism being thrown at Zachary Orr. The players say it's all them. John Harbaugh doing nothing but defending this guy. But for Todd Monken, John Harbaugh's actively criticizing Todd Monken to the media. And inside, the players have problems with him too. I find that very interesting. I do not deny that the man has his problems. But I find it interesting how he's all of a sudden the biggest issue that's being discussed. And freaking Zachary Orr gets nothing. I said this in my last stream. I'm going to say it again. I don't believe they treat Zachary Orr like a defensive coordinator. They pointed out too. This is a former Raven. Zachary Orr was a former Raven. He was an All-Pro with us at some point. He is a former Raven. One of his former teammates in Brett Urban is currently playing on the damn team. Zachary Orr is 33 years old. To give you some context here, let me do this right now. Let me give you some context here, just to name a few names here. Zachary Orr is 33 years old. Let me give you some context here, so you just know. I'm not gonna name about. Let me give you some context here. Zachary Orr is 33 years old. Derrick Henry is 31 years old. DeAndre Hopkins is 33 years old. Cooper Rush is 31 years old. Mark Andrews is 30 years old. Kyle Van Noy is 34 years old. He's older than Zachary Orr. Brent Urban is 34 years old. He's older than Zachary Orr. Patrick Ricard is 31 years old. Chidobe Awuzie is 30 years old. Ronnie Stanley is 31 years old. I'm just giving you a quick aspect here. Zachary Orr is 33 years old. He has one of his former teammates still playing on this team on the active roster. Multiple guys on this team are well within the age range of Zachary Orr. And this is a guy that was a former Raven and has gone up through John Harbaugh's coaching tree. That is a John Harbaugh guy. This is what I'm trying to explain to you. The Ravens, both the players and maybe even John Harbaugh, they don't view Zachary Orr as a defensive coordinator. They view him as one of the guys. He's so close in age to a lot of these veterans that he doesn't really feel like a defensive coordinator. They don't treat him like a defensive coordinator. They treat him like one of the guys. And do you know what happens when you get treated like one of the guys? You get defended to the ends of the earth. John Harbaugh is never going to publicly call out a player. John Harbaugh is never going to publicly put a player on blast. The players will never criticize a fellow teammate. They will never criticize one of their guys. They won't do that because they stick up for their guys. It's a brotherhood in the locker room. They stick up for their guys. They will never criticize their guys. They will never criticize one of their own. And that's what Zachary Orr is. He's not a defensive coordinator. He's one of the guys. He's one of the guys in the locker room. He's John Harbaugh's favorite. He's one of his favorites, just like Greg Roman was. So you've got a quote-unquote defensive coordinator that's one of the head coach's favorites, and he's one of the guys in the locker room. Do you think they're going to put that guy on blast? We have heard reports about this team bringing back multiple former defensive coordinators to try to help him out with the defense, to try to shake this defense up. How often do you hear reports about a team bringing in their former defensive coordinators to be a part of their coaching staff, to assist their defensive coordinator when it comes to game planning for the coverages out there? How often do you hear that? How often do you hear? Go look at the other teams all around the National Football League. How often are you hearing reports that a team is bringing back not one, multiple former defensive coordinators to assist their current defensive coordinators in terms of fixing the defense, in terms of getting the play calling right, getting the coverages right. How often do you hear that in the league? They brought back multiple guys to come assist Zachary Orr in getting this defense right. How often do you hear that in the league? Well, you got to bring in multiple guys to help your defensive coordinator figure out what coverages he should throw out there, what calls he should be making. How often do you see something like this? How often do you see it? Because that's what we're seeing here. And that's why I cannot look at Zachary Orr as a defensive coordinator. Because it's clear as day. They don't view him like that. This is a guy that was a former Raven. He wore the colors. And when he was out there, he was good. He was a former All-Pro for 1 year. So he did produce when he was a Raven. It was a neck injury that ended his career. But when he was out there, he performed. He then ends up on this coaching staff. He was one of the former players that was being coached by Harbaugh. Then he ends up on his coaching staff and works his way through Harbaugh's coaching tree to become a defensive coordinator. He's Harbaugh's guy. He's one of the guys. Zachary Orr feels more like a veteran player than a defensive coordinator. And it feels like the players look at him more as a veteran player than an actual defensive coordinator. Because they refuse to show any level of criticism on him. They refuse to criticize him. They won't throw any criticism at him. Meanwhile, Todd Monken is the furthest away from even trying to come close to connecting with these guys. It's a 59-year-old man that just got here 3 years ago. He's not a Harbaugh hire. Harbaugh's guy was Greg Roman. He never wanted to get rid of Greg Roman. He had no choice. He was forced to get rid of Greg Roman. Todd Monken is not a John Harbaugh guy. He's not. Todd Monken is not a John Harbaugh guy. Todd Monken is also not somebody that's going to connect with that locker room as one of the guys. He is viewed as an offensive coordinator and as an offensive coordinator only. Zachary Orr is not viewed like that. So they're willing to go to the bat and defend Zachary Orr. They're not willing to do the same for Todd Monken because he's not one of the guys. He's not a John Harbaugh guy, and he's not one of the guys in the locker room. His coaching style doesn't fit with what they want. And we already heard it. There's entitlement. When I called this team a group of spoiled brats, I meant it. And this report is showing me why that take is a lot more accurate than I initially thought. The arrogance to hear that in that locker room that these guys started feeling overconfident because all the reports and journalists all over Baltimore, and they're hearing the public all over on these public shows, ESPN, First Things First, whatever. They're hearing on these public news shows, these sports shows. You're hearing multiple experts pick the Ravens to go to the Super Bowl before the season even starts. They're hearing that both inside and outside Baltimore. They're getting that from both those avenues. They started to feel themselves. They started to get overconfident. Oh, yeah, we got this, man. Look at the team we had. We got this high-octane offense. Lamar and Derrick Henry killed it last year. We've added D-Hop. We're going to be great. Look at what we added to the defense. Man, look who we drafted. We got Mike Green. We got Malachi Starks. We brought in Chidobe Awuzie. We got Jair Alexander. Oh, my God, this secondary, you're not going to be able to throw. They felt so overconfident that they thought they were just going to get this done. They felt so overconfident that they actively believed the game was over when they were up. They actively believed the game was over when they were up against the Buffalo Bills. They were up huge in the fourth. They thought the game was over. There's no way they can come back on us. And then they did. And all of a sudden, that arrogance, that overconfidence shattered. And now all they can do is look to blame somebody, look to figure out how to pick up the pieces. A group of spoiled, entitled players. That's what that locker room is filled with. And it's not everybody in the locker room, but it's enough to impact the locker room. And that's where the problem comes in. It's not everybody in that locker room that's entitled.
but it's enough players that showcase the entitlement that you can still fracture this team to the point where we are today, because it's still a team game. And to have that amount of overconfidence before you've even accomplished something is so hilarious to me. Where does that confidence come from? You've done nothing. You've won nothing. You're not the Chiefs. The Chiefs have won 3 championships. If Mahomes and Kelsey want to be overconfident, they've earned the right to be overconfident. Why wouldn't they be overconfident? Why would Patrick Mahomes not be overconfident? Since he has stepped foot in the league as a starter, he's been to the AFC Championship game every single year of his career. There hasn't been a single year where Mahomes has missed the AFC Championship game as a starter. He deserves to be overconfident. Why would he not be confident? I've been here before. I've done this many times. I got 3 rings. I know what it takes to go the distance and get to the mountaintop. Of course I can be overconfident. We're playing bad in the regular season. We played bad in the regular season in 2023. And you know what we did? We went to Buffalo and gave them the belt. We went to Baltimore and gave them the belt. We won the damn Super Bowl and beat the Niners. We've earned the right to be overconfident. Kelsey's earned the right to be overconfident. You don't have to like it, but they've earned the right to be overconfident. They've won championships. And when you win championships, you've earned the right to be overconfident. You guys haven't won a damn thing. And you have the nerve to be overconfident in that locker room after accomplishing what? Nothing. Because you got a bunch of players in the offseason? You want to be a bunch of overconfident players? Because you got all these new players and pundits in the media are saying the Ravens are favored to win the Super Bowl? You want to let that get into your head when you haven't won anything? Very interesting. If this was the Eagles, people may say it's premature, but I can at least understand that the Eagles were getting overconfident. They won a championship. They went on a dominant playoff run. They destroyed Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. They can at least showcase a level of overconfidence and say, you know what? We showed that we can beat the big bad wolf in Mahomes and Andy Reid. We did it. We beat them. We overcame our demons. We got it done. So we can be a little bit overconfident and arrogant. If we have problems in the regular season, guess what? We had problems in the regular season last year, and then our bye week happened. We fixed our issues. We made the playoffs. We went on our run. We destroyed Mahomes in the Super Bowl, and we won a championship. Philadelphia can be overconfident because they've gotten to the mountaintop and won something. You guys haven't won anything. You think all those division titles mean anything if you don't get it done? Who cares about winning the AFC North? You can't get it done in January. Disappointing, heartbreaking loss in Buffalo. A disappointing, disgraceful performance in the 2023 AFC Championship game by your offense. Getting smacked and embarrassed, though you didn't have Lamar, but getting smacked and embarrassed by the Bengals in the game you should have won. Like, what do you have to be confident for? What do you have to be overconfident for? You've won nothing, and yet you are overconfident. Heading into the season, when you've won nothing. And then you have the nerve to be overconfident and assume the game's over because you're destroying Buffalo, and there's no way Buffalo can come back. Really now. Well, guess what happened? 41-40. But you guys have the nerve to show that level of overconfidence when you've won nothing. I find that hilarious. And it goes to show that these players are spoiled and entitled. They can get ahead of themselves without even earning the stripes. You've done nothing to earn the stripes. You won nothing. And yet you have the nerve to be overconfident? Based off of what? You've won nothing. I mean, are you overconfident because you're winning the AFC North consistently? Are these AFC North titles getting to your head? Are you just satisfied with winning the division? Oh man, we're handling Burrow every year. We're winning the division with or without beating Pittsburgh. We're constantly within the top 3 conversations for best teams in the AFC. We're consistently a playoff team. We're seen as one of the leading candidates for a Super Bowl contending team. We got a 2-time MVP at quarterback and a future Hall of Fame running back. Everything's good for us. We don't really have to put our focus on things. We're going to smoothly dominate the season. Is that what they thought? They lose their minds in their level of overconfidence that they think teams are just going to sit back and let them do whatever they want? I find it hilarious how those players were shell-shocked at how badly they lost to the Texans. It goes to show the level of entitlement. They believe they're better than what they actually are. They believe that they should be talked about in the same conversation as the Chiefs. They want to walk around like they're the Chiefs with this level of overconfidence. You haven't won anything, but you're walking around overconfident. You can see it in their attitude. You can see it in their conversations. You can see it in how they speak to the media. And you wonder why the fans are turning. This level of overconfidence that this team is showcasing. For you to be shell shocked that the Houston Texans came into your house and smacked you around because you thought that would be your quote unquote get right game. You've been overconfident to go into the season. You got smacked. You never recovered. You never really learned your lesson from that because week one was supposed to be a wake up call. Week one was supposed to be a wake up call, but you get humiliated by the Lions on Monday Night Football. And then that was a wake up call. And then you got absolutely destroyed by the Kansas City Chiefs game, by the Kansas City Chiefs. And then that was a wake up call. And now Lamar is gone. And you got to take on the Texans. And they destroy you in the worst possible way in your building. And that's a wake up call. How many wake up calls do you need? How many wake up calls do you need, man? This is pathetic. This is absolutely pathetic. And this is a part of why no matter what they choose to go on and do, unless they win the Super Bowl, nobody's going to care. As fans, we're going to watch. We're going to enjoy. You know, Lamar Jackson could be back and playing on Sunday. I hope he is because we actually want to watch some entertaining football in Baltimore. We'll watch. We'll celebrate. We'll enjoy. But we know what's coming. You got a group of entitled players like this having this type of mindset when they've won nothing, and you expect the fans to believe you can win a championship with this type of mindset. No. Lamar is good enough to turn this around. He is. Like, as much as people think he's not, he is. No matter how bad the circumstance is, Lamar is good enough to turn things around. With Lamar at quarterback, we've won 12 straight games before. On multiple occasions, we've had 5 and 6 game winning streaks with Lamar Jackson. We need to go 9-2, maybe 8-3. We need to go 8-3 because we're 1-5 right now. We need to go 8-3 to finish the season with the winning record. Lamar can do that. Lamar can help you just stack wins against inferior competition. And he'll help you stack wins against dominant competition. He's a historically great quarterback. One of the winningest quarterbacks in league history. It's just he hasn't gotten it done in the postseason, which he's not the first all-time great quarterback to deal with that. Peyton Manning had his issues too. But with Lamar, it's more than capable. The last time Lamar was in this situation was 2020. We was 6-5. We needed to win our last 5 games to make the playoffs. And if we lost any one of those 5 games, we would have missed the playoffs. We had to win that Monday Night Thriller in Cleveland. Lamar delivered. He had that huge 4th-down play where he came out of the locker room and saved the day. So Lamar has showcased he can stack wins for you. He can lead the team to the playoffs. So Lamar coming back and staying healthy, I don't doubt that this team could potentially get back into the race and potentially win this division and still get to the playoffs. With Lamar healthy and out there, it's very possible. But can any Ravens fan actively look at the team after getting reports like this, after seeing how the start of the season's been, after watching them crumble against Super Bowl contending teams? Can we actively sit back and say that this team can get it done in January? Based off of what? Based off of what? There's nothing here to look at and say, oh yeah, they're going to get it done in January. How? How are they going to get it done? Where? This is what we're working with. You've got an entitled locker room. Not everybody's entitled there, but it's enough to make an impact. You've got a head coach that refused to hold his defensive coordinator accountable and keeps acting like everything's fine because he's trying to hide everything in the shadows and act like he's this perfect team-friendly coach when in actuality, he doesn't really know what he's doing. He's probably lost the locker room to an extent. You got a defensive coordinator that's not even a defensive coordinator. He's just one of the guys. He's just a veteran player that's calling the plays. I mean, he's no different than Jeff Saturday trying to be the head coach of the Colts. Now, in that case, they called him up. They called Jeff Saturday up. He was on ESPN. They called him up and said, hey, you want to come coach this damn team? He said, you know what, bet I'll come do that. And then they blew a 30-plus point lead to the Minnesota Vikings. That's what Zachary Orr is. He's Jeff Saturday. He's Jeff Saturday, the coach. Zachary Orr is a defensive coordinator, according to his title, but he's really a veteran guy. He's one of the guys that just happens to take the role as defensive coordinator. But he's clearly shown that he doesn't know what he's doing at this stage. Maybe he's just not good enough to get it done, or maybe he's just not ready. He is 33 years old after all. He's 33 years old. There's still time for him to grow. As a coach, you've got plenty of time to gain experience. He's 33 years old. You got a 33-year-old coach? He can still be playing in the league. A former player that's 33 years old and the coach now He's still old enough to be able to, well, he's still young enough to still be playing in the league, but we know why he's not. Maybe one day Zachary Orr will become the defensive coordinator that you need him to be, where you can fully trust him. But right now, I couldn't say that. Especially not in this environment where he's just treated as one of the guys. They won't hold him accountable. They won't criticize him. They'll take all the blame from him because that's what you do as a teammate. A good teammate will make sure you stick up for your other teammates. He's one of the guys, so we'll never criticize him. But Todd Monken's not one of the guys, so he'll get all the criticism. He's being scapegoated. He's being scapegoated. It's clear as day he's being scapegoated. Which is why, me personally, and I've seen a lot of Raiders fans feel the same way, I would not blame Todd Monken if he walked away. Todd, you are free to walk away, my guy. Since you are the problem, since you're getting scapegoated, since you're the real issue with the Ravens, why not walk away? You're the problem? Okay, bet I'm the problem. Let me walk away and see how this offense does without me, since I'm the problem. That defense was giving up 35 points when Lamar Jackson's offense was putting up nearly 34 points a game. And our offense was top 3 in the league. Lamar was leading the league in touchdown passes and had the best passer rating in football. We had a top 3 offense that was averaging over 30 points a game. And that defense was averaging giving up nearly 35 points a game. But Todd Monken's the problem. And I'm not saying Todd Monken doesn't have his issues. We started this stream emphasizing Todd Monken has his issues. But the fact that Todd Monken is the only one getting smoked is what's pissing me off. He's the only one getting smoked. He's the only one getting criticized. He's the only one that's getting this level of shots taken at him. Nothing for Zachary Orr. If I'm Todd Monken, I'm not taking this. I'm not. If I'm Todd, I'm walking away. I'm walking away. If I'm the problem, if I'm going to be scapegoated, oh, hell no. I'm walking away. Good luck with that offense, though. And by the way, if my departure ends up leading to Lamar not signing that extension and ultimately leaving at some point or forcing you guys to trade him, that's on you guys. That's not on me because I was the problem. You want to coddle up that sorry excuse of a defensive coordinator in Zachary Orr. You want to coddle him up when his defense is giving up 35 points when my offense is putting up nearly 35 points. You want to coddle him. Give him no criticism. But I'm the problem. I'm the issue. All right, bet. Todd Monken, do yourself a favor. I don't know if you want to leave now or at the end of the year, but Todd Monken, your time is up, bro. Your time is up. You need to look at yourself in the mirror and say, it's my time to leave. They're blaming me. They're making me the scapegoat. This article is just showcasing he's not well liked there. If they don't like me, I don't need to be here. Todd Monken, you are free to leave now or you are free to leave at the end of the offseason. Nobody will blame you. Let them stick and coddle that defensive coordinator and see what that gets them. Let them go find a new offensive coordinator. Maybe Lamar will sign the extension. Who knows? But Todd, it ain't your responsibility anymore. You have your faults. You have your problems. You deserve criticism. But you're not the only issue. And the fact that you're the only one getting criticized is beyond asinine. They're making you the scapegoat, Todd. You should leave. Walk away. You don't deserve this. Walk away. Do not let them make you the scapegoat. Walk away. Whether you want to walk away today or you'll say, you know what, I'll wait to the end of the season. Let me pick up these checks, get my affairs in order, let my family know we leave in Baltimore at the end of the year. Do what you got to do. Because, you quit now. The whole life aspect is affected because now you got to move your family out. Take these. It is October 25th. We got about 3 months left in the season. We got 2.5, 3 months left in the season, probably around there, because, all of November, all of December. If this team don't make the playoffs, January don't matter. So let's just say 2 months. 2 to 2.5 months left in the season. Todd Monken, that's plenty of time. Pick up these paychecks. Get your affairs in order. Notify your family. We're going to be leaving Baltimore at the end of the year. Or I'm not getting fired. I'm quitting. I'm resigning at the end of the year. Just know, don't tell the team nothing. Don't tell the team nothing. Be observant of how they're treating you. When things are bad, you're the only one that's getting heat. You're the only one that's getting heat. Buddy, if they're making you the scapegoat, if you got people in that organization that actively don't like you, if we're getting reports like this from anonymous people inside that locker room that you're the problem, dude, don't take this. Todd Monken, you don't deserve this, bro. Zachary Orr's defense has been garbage, and they won't criticize him. But they're throwing all the criticism to you. Your own boss is actively criticizing you to the media, but he won't say a damn thing about that sorry defensive coordinator and his garbage defense. You got 2 months. Get your affairs in orders. Sorry, excuse me. Get your affairs in order. Let your family know. In 2 months, at the end of the year, I'm resigning as the offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. They can figure this crap out by themselves. And if it causes them to end up losing Lamar because I have to depart, I will do so. But I'm not going to be the scapegoat for anybody. Todd, you are free to leave. You came here and brought this offense to new heights. Lamar won an MVP with you. We got to the AFC title game for the first time. You were poor in that game, and I'm not saying you don't deserve criticism. But to act like you're the only one at fault for everything that's happening right now is crazy. You deserve criticism. I blame you and Lamar for that AFC championship loss because your play calling and Lamar's decision making in those moments, not to mention Zay Flowers' fumble and all this other stuff. Primarily, you and Lamar get that heat for the AFC championship game. But you brought this offense to new heights. Lamar won an MVP, and he put up one of the most historical seasons of all time. This offense has been nothing but exemplary since you've been here. It's been one of the top 5 offenses in the league since you've been here. You brought it to new heights. You've had Lamar Jackson put up historical numbers we've never seen before. But if they're going to blame you for the problems here, please walk away. Do not be the scapegoat. They don't want to hold Zachary Orr accountable. They want to make you the scapegoat. That's fine. At the end of the year, resign as the offensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens. Tell your family in 2 months, we're moving out of Baltimore because I'm not going to be the scapegoat for anybody. No matter what, unless this season ends in the Super Bowl, there's no reason Todd Monken should still be here. Now, matter of fact, screw it. This season has to end in a Super Bowl and an apology from Harbaugh and everybody in that locker room that was throwing criticism. Whoever spoke to these reporters, these anonymous people that spoke to the reporters, I want an apology if this team wins a Super Bowl. It's not going to happen, but that's the only way I can see Todd Monken staying. This team wins a Super Bowl, and everybody that called him out, including the head coach, publicly apologized to this man and privately apologized to this man. That's what I would need to see if I'm Todd Monken to stay. Anything other than that, I'm gone. I don't need to be here. I brought this offense to new heights with Lamar Jackson, but I'm the problem. My offense was averaging nearly 34 points with Lamar here, while that sorry defense with Zachary Orr was averaging 35 points giving up a game. But I'm the problem. Todd, 2 months, bro. 2 months. You're free to resign. If I'm sitting here in January or February and I get a report from Jeff that says Todd Monken has resigned from the offensive coordinator position for the Baltimore Ravens, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised in the slightest. If I get one of the reports that the Ravens and Todd Monken have decided to mutually part ways, I know that means Todd Monken heard what us fans have said and said, hey, you can leave. You're free to go. Don't be the scapegoat. Todd will, if he's hearing us right now, if he's hearing us and we get that report, the Ravens have decided to mutually part ways with Todd Monken, I'm going to know that he heard us fans say you are free to leave because you don't deserve to be the scapegoat for John Harbaugh's nonsense. And he would have heard us and he would have taken that to heart and said, you know what? The fans are right. I don't need to take this crap. And then he would leave. If I hear Todd Monken personally decided it, or the Ravens decided to mutually part ways, that means Todd Monken walked in that office and said, I'm gone. I'm out. I'm resigning. So I'll be looking forward to that potential report that could come up in February. Or maybe even earlier than that. Because you want to make Todd Monken the scapegoat. He's the bad guy all of a sudden. He don't need to be here then. Go figure it out. And when Lamar gets frustrated because the offense sucks because the play calling's terrible, and then he decides, you know what, trade me after all, I don't want to sign that extension. Realize that all this crap that you guys have been doing for the last year has been, well, not last year, for the last 2 months, has led to this. That's all I got to say about that. Todd Monken has his problems, but he's absolutely being scapegoat. I'm scapegoated. It's being here. It's being shown here. The articles showed it. The public criticism for John Harbaugh showed it. It's clear as day. Todd Monken is being scapegoated by the Baltimore Ravens. And if I'm Todd Monken, I'm not taking this crap from nobody. I got 2 months to get my affairs straight. I got 2 months to let my family know we're not going to be in Baltimore long. Start packing the house up. We leaving. In 2 months, we out. That's all I gotta say if I'm Todd Monken. Get out. Do not let them do this to you. You were in college winning national championships, man. You don't deserve this crap. You don't need to be here. If I'm the problem, go see what Zachary Orr can do for you. Go find a new offensive coordinator. And that sorry defensive coordinator with all the talent in the world, go see how that works out for you. Maybe you'll win the Super Bowl next year without me. Good luck. Who knows if Lamar will be here, though. But good luck. If that's how you're going to treat Todd Monken, he don't need to be here. If he's the only one that's going to get criticism, Todd Monken is the only one that's the bad guy. No smoke for Zachary Orr, no smoke for anybody else. Fine. He don't need to be here. Getting reports here from this article that there's people inside the Ravens that don't like how Monken operates. They don't like him personally. Fine. I don't need to be here. Go find someone else to fix your problems. I came here to change this offense to take them to new heights. I did that. But I'm the problem now, and Zachary Orr gets to scoot off scot-free when his defense is giving up 1 million points a game. Fine. I'm the problem. In 2 months, I won't be the problem anymore. Good luck with that 2-time MVP quarterback you have. Hopefully, my departure doesn't cause him to decide to leave. Good luck getting that extension from him, though, because he's not going to extend to a team that's got no chances to do anything. He actively knows this is the crap that's happening. You better make those changes. You don't satisfy Lamar, he's gone. Good luck with that. But that's all I got for this, man. An hour of really going at this. I'm going to take a look at these comments, and then we're going to go from here. Sunday should be a fun one. Lamar Jackson is expected to, is questionable to play, but many of us expect Lamar to play. He participated in practice this week. He was there and went on Wednesday. He was limited on Wednesday. He was limited on Thursday, and he practiced on Friday. So we got to see all of it. We got to see all of it in terms of him practicing this week. So he was he was limited in practice for Wednesday and Thursday. He was fully participating in practice today. They're going to see how he does on Saturday in terms of how he's feeling because, you get Saturday when no one practices. They're going to see how Lamar feels on Saturday, in terms of, just going around doing things. And then Sunday morning, they'll check on him. Before pregame, they'll check on him to make sure he's okay. And if he's good to go, he'll play. But, yeah, we'll see what happens on Sunday against the Chicago Bears. It's a must-win game for the Ravens. If the Ravens lose against the Bears, their season's over. But, we'll see what happens. Let me get in on these comments, and then I'm going to call it a night. Thank you for addressing this, man. They're outing my guy. It's crazy. It's crazy that this is happening. Reports seem accurate. I'm not gonna deny. I'm not gonna confirm nor deny. Actually, I would agree with you. I think the reports are accurate. I did not know just how bad it was in terms of the internal part, but definitely seems like it's accurate there. I didn't realize that there was a lot of disdain for the guy internally, but a lot of the issues that are being said about his play calling and decision making, we've seen it out on the field, and it seems like internally it's also been a problem. So, yeah, I would say the reports definitely seem accurate. Unless any player comes out and says those reports are false, which again, even if they say that, no one's gonna buy it. These were anonymous sources, so no one's gonna buy it. Anonymous sources from inside the Ravens locker room, so no one's gonna buy it. But yeah, we'll see what it is. But Zach Orr can do whatever he wants to and not a pee from anybody because he's one of the guys. He's not a defensive coordinator. He's one of the guys. He's more of a veteran player than an actual. He's you know what? Love the man to death. I appreciated what he brought to the table. But we already knew during his final years there he was this. Zachary Orr is more like Udonis Haslam. He's a player's coach. He's more of a player's coach that's just sitting on the bench. That's what he is. He's closer to that. Zachary Orr is closer. I love Udonis Haslam to death, but those ending years, he was more so of a player's coach, which we needed him. We needed him just to bring in that leadership that needed to be there to keep us together and allow us to fight those battles during the Jimmy Butler era. But that's what Zachary Orr is. He's closer to Udonis Haslam being a player's coach and an actual defensive coordinator. But yeah, Zachary Orr can get away with whatever he wants because he's one of the guys. Todd can't be the problem. According to the article, he's the problem. He's the problem, according to the article. We've been through 14 different coordinators with Harbs, and we'll have a 15 one soon. We'll have our 15th different coordinator coming this offseason because Todd Monken's got to get out of here, bro. There's no way he's gonna sit here and be the scapegoat. resign, bro. Get out of here and don't let them ruin your name. Do not let this happen on your watch, dude. You are free to leave. You are absolutely free to leave. Your title is absolutely correct. Harv is trying to blame the coordinators again before blame goes to him. Oh no, it's specifically Todd Monken. There's no blame going to Zachary Orr. I know Monken doesn't have the best play calls sometimes, but overall he's a good offensive coordinator. When he had Lamar, we were scoring 30 plus a game. Yeah, but that's not enough. He's the problem. Todd Monken's defense giving up, not Todd Monken, I keep saying Todd Monken. Zachary Orr's defense is giving up 35 plus points a game when Lamar was still our starting quarterback. But somehow Todd Monken's the real problem with the team. Cool. Last year we had a historical offense as well. Yeah, we did. We did. 3 straight tush pushes. Bad. It's crazy to say he's Lamar's best play caller. He is. But he's the problem, though. So he might as well resign since he's the problem. No smoke for Zachary Orr. All the smoke for Todd Monken. Cool. He don't need to be here then. He's free to leave. And then you can figure it out with your quarterback in terms of his extension. Because this is the best play caller he's had. But he's the problem. Cool. John is like Neo from the Matrix, dodging everything. What else is new? He's been doing it for years. Yes, Monken is part of the problem, but he's also one of the better coaches we've had. Lamar has had 2 MVP type seasons in both years with Monken. Yeah, but that's not enough. He's the problem. He's the issue. He's the reason. He's absolutely the reason. He's absolutely the reason. He's the problem, guys. You didn't know it? He's the problem. He's the problem. If you didn't know it, he's the problem. So I just want to let you know he's the problem. No smoke for Zachary Orr. All the smoke for Todd Monken. This is not a Monken problem. We made the same complaints about Roman and Marty before him. This is a John Harbaugh problem. All these offensive coordinators have different coaching styles, yet all fall apart the same way. Doesn't matter. Harbaugh rules the locker room. They're infatuated him in the organization. They're never going to hold him accountable for anything. Accountability is key, yes, and unfortunately, we do not have accountability in Baltimore when it comes to our head coach or our defensive coordinator. So, yeah, this team's not winning a Super Bowl this year, which we already know. John Harbaugh, in my opinion, is taking control of the playing in crucial situations and feigning ignorance in the post-game presses. What else is new with Harbaugh, man? What else is new? What's going on, Legendary? I'm sorry if I missed you coming in. Sorry for anyone that I missed coming into the stream. I had to read that long article and give my thoughts about it. So, yeah, here's what it is. I've watched Georgia football a lot when Monken was the offensive coordinator, and he was throwing and calling plays like he was losing when he was blowing out teams by 30. Yeah, unfortunately, he doesn't have the opportunity to do that here. You know, that's what it is. Not a Ravens fan. No Ravens fan, but John Harbaugh should have been gone. Yeah, but unfortunately, he's still here. He definitely calls, dude, we've always called conservative plays like the Bills game. That's always been happening under Harbaugh because it's what he wants. But he'll never outly say it. Harbaugh will say one thing and act differently behind the scenes. But if I speak, Monken hasn't been good. Monken has had his problems. But we're not gonna act. Pierre, you're missing the whole problem. I started the stream pointing out his issues. Monken has not been great this year. His play calling has been inconsistent. The lack of creativity, or at least the lack of creative play calling, has been problematic. His decision to move away from the game plan too early has been problematic. His play calling at the goal line has been atrocious. Monken has had his issues. That's not the point we're trying to make. Our point is that he's the only one that's getting criticism. Where is the criticism for our defensive coordinator that's been terrible? Why is Todd Monken the only one that's getting criticism, but Zachary Orr gets no criticism? Why is it that he's getting public criticism from his head coach and private criticism from guys in that locker room? Why is nobody calling out Zachary Orr's abysmal defense? Why is nobody calling out his horrible decisions as a defensive coordinator? Why is it just Todd Monken? That's the problem. He's being scapegoated for everything that's happening while Zachary Orr gets no blame, no criticism from anybody. That's just not fair. He hasn't been great this year. He has been very bad at times. But to act like he's the only problem is crazy. Where's the accountability for everybody else? And yes, I've seen his play calling. I'm not saying he isn't problematic, but he's not the only problem, Pierre. We've sat back and said he's a problem, but he's not the only problem. I've called out Todd Monken every single week since the beginning. I've called out Todd Monken. But I've also called out Zachary Orr. And the fans have called for everybody to get fair criticism. There hasn't been a peep, not an ounce of criticism for Zachary Orr, but all the criticism will for Todd Monken. Why? Zachary has all that talent, and the defense stinks, and he gets no criticism. But Todd Monken's making mistakes and having poor performances here with the play calling, and he doesn't, and he gets all the blame while Zachary Orr gets no blame. That's not fair. That's not fair, and it's wrong. It's wrong. It is wrong. No one's going to defend. No one's going to defend the issues we've seen here with Todd Monken's play calling. Our whole point is, fine, criticize him. We do the same thing too. But make sure you criticize Zachary as well. Both coordinators should be getting smoke, but one is. How was that fair? How was that fair at all? How is that fair? John Harbaugh in Super Bowl 2012 called the worst punter direct snap I've ever seen in my life. Even back then, I said WTF was that. We had bad play calling way before Monken got here. We've always had bad play calling at times. Harbaugh doesn't know how to hire a competent coaching staff. He's never known how to do that. At least Monken takes accountability, unlike Orr. Yeah, and that's where our problem's coming in. Know what? Harbaugh's not taking accountability, not really seeing much accountability from Orr. In fact, he's not even getting blamed. What accountability does Zachary Orr have to take? Nobody's criticizing him. What accountability does Zachary Orr have to take? He's not getting criticized. The only criticism he's getting is from the fans. The players and coaches are not calling him out. It's only been the fans. The media, to an extent, has called him out, but it's been everything. In fact, the media has been more focused on John Harbaugh than Zachary Orr. But in terms of the criticism, not a lot's being thrown towards Zachary Orr in totality. That's a problem. Wow, I almost choked up here. This has Harbaugh written all over it. Yep. If I was Monken, I would resign and let them fend for themselves. Wouldn't blame him if he did that. I wouldn't blame him if he did that. Our offense will be good with or without Monken as long as we have 8. Of course he'll be good, but it won't be as good as it is now. Because at the end of the day, you do need to have a good offensive coordinator. Lamar can carry as much as he wants, but we saw with Greg Roman, there's going to be limits to what you can expect Lamar to do. He's not going to be able to cover up for everything. And even Lamar has its limits. If Lamar gets frustrated because the play calling is trash, it's not going to be a good look. We saw him get frustrated with the play calling multiple times on the sideline with Greg Roman. That's why Greg Roman's not here anymore. So our offense will be fine with or without Monken, but it wouldn't be fine long term. And eventually Lamar will get pissed off at how the play calling is because there's certain ways he wants the play calling to go. And if it doesn't go that way and they're not executing, Lamar's going to have a problem. Without Monken, that play calling ain't going to be what it needs to be. And Lamar's going to pick up on it. And he's going to pick up on the lack of standard with these play calls. And he's going to have a problem. And he's going to speak out. And he's going to be angry. And you piss off your franchise quarterback, that's a one-way ticket for him to want to leave. Especially because he needs to sign an extension this offseason. Things ain't going good in that department right now with the way things have been going. Clashing with Monken tells me that the players don't like what he's criticizing them about. This is why players like Harbaugh, because Harbaugh is a yes man. He never criticizes the players. I've already called them spoiled and entitled, so it really don't matter at this point. He just tells them good job, and you'll get them next time if they play bad. He don't really criticize people like that. Being liked shouldn't be your concern. Do your job. It's that simple. Yeah, well, it is what it is. Todd Monken has issues, but he's not the biggest problem, in my opinion. I agree. These reports are overrated. We had Lamar for 3 games, and the offense looks good in all those games. Let's calm down and just wait for Sunday. It's not really about the reports specifically. It's the fact that he's the only one that's getting criticism, and no one's saying anything about Zachary Orr. That's a problem. And yeah, the offense definitely looked terrible against Kansas City. O-line is terrible. Short pass game is non-existent. But yes, give Zay Flowers more jet sweeps and screen passes with 1 blocker and 5 defense surrounding. Yeah, that's part of the poor play calling and decision making by Todd Monken. It's been poor. All right. Orr should have never been hired. He has no experience.
Well, chaos is not about him being hired. You mean he should have never been promoted? He was already on the team as our linebackers coach. You mean Zachary Orr should have never been promoted? He's younger than my shorts. Is hilarious. Of course, it's the classic. We like our guys. Fale is putting Lamar's career in the line every drop back. You're not wrong about that. The boys' club is ruining this team. They're not going to win anything, so it don't matter. Weak-minded players. They've already shown they're weak-minded. That loss, they got overconfident, cocky, fed into the hype that was being placed on them. Got embarrassed in the fourth quarter by the Bills and never recovered. That's why they're 1-5. Eagles did beat us last year too. What would Ray Lewis do in this situation? Ray Lewis wouldn't find himself in this situation because that locker room he would have never let it. Ray Lewis would never let it get to this point. We didn't even have to talk about what would Ray Lewis do in this situation. Ray Lewis would never let it get to this point. It would have never got to this point under Ray. Hell no, it wouldn't have gotten to this point with Ray Lewis in that locker room. We need Brian Flores. Wouldn't mind that. Would not mind that at all. Our defense in the Ray Lewis era deserved this swagger. This era hasn't. Dude, when I made my video talking about this defense being a bunch of spoiled, entitled players, I mean it. I said in that video that these guys are living off of a legacy and a reputation that they didn't help build. And judging by their overconfidence, it's clear as day they're living off of that resume and that legacy. They've done nothing to deserve this. They're living off of a legacy they didn't build, and they think they can just go out there because they have all this talent. Then when they get smacked in the mouth, they want to cry and crumple up like weak babies. You can't recover from an embarrassing loss. Shouldn't have lost that game in the first place, but you can't recover from that? Really? Pathetic. Sorry excuse of a defense with a sorry excuse of a defensive coordinator. If Monken is fired and Orr keeps his job, I'm not even kidding. EDC and Harvard might genuinely have mob ties. At the end of the day, we have an owner that doesn't care, and he's in love with Harbaugh. I'm not even gonna lie. I want Monk gone. I wanted Monk gone, but not like this. No, what's gonna happen? You're gonna get your wish one way or another. We might as well start over. Forget the remainder of the season. Just start over. They're gonna have no choice but to clean house. You either clean house or trade Lamar and settle with trash. The only way they're gonna trade Lamar is if they can't work out a deal for an extension. So we'll see how that goes. I don't blame Monken for things like the 2-point conversion rollout plays because they have been running that since Marty Morningweg. Harb calls that play sometimes, I think. I'm not gonna say nothing about nothing, but every time we run those 2-point conversion plays, it's always rolling out Lamar. That's always happened, no matter who the offense coordinator is. But I won't speak on that. Monk was the last of the coaches slash coordinators I wanted to clear his desk. Literally the last one in the order of problems. If he stayed and all the other coaches got fired, I'd be fine. Is what it is. If we fired Todd, Lamar's gonna make sure everyone is fired. I wouldn't mind that. Todd Monken is not an issue. He gave us some of the best years for passing offense. Don't let him go. Get rid of the right guys. This is fake criticism of Todd. Oh no, Brian. I'm not Brian. Brandon. I'm not saying they should let him go. I'm saying he should walk. If he's the problem, he should resign. Let him walk and see if they can figure this out without him. Everybody knows Harvis has his imprints on the offense, especially in crucial moments in the red zone. We go through this with every offensive coordinator we won when we let Cam Cameron do his thing. True. Monken's the least of the team's issues. It is what it is, man. I might even watch. I might even watch the Ravens game anymore. Oh, you say I might not even watch the Ravens game anymore if they trade. If Todd walks away from Lamar, who knows what will happen? Time to bounce back. Well, we'll see what happens on Sunday. Imagine if Todd Monken had a good O line. We could wish for a lot of things, but unfortunately, our wishes don't always come true. I do think Todd could be better in terms of. I do think Todd could be better, but in terms of coaches, he's one of the last ones to fire. Of course. The roster is bad. It's what it is. Do you honestly think the Ravens can win out? If there's anyone I believe in, is Lamar Jackson. He can turn trash into gold, and he can fix situations. So, if Lamar is healthy, it's possible. This is not the first time we've been in the situation where we have to win out to win. 2020, we were 6-5, and we had to win out to make the playoffs. If we lose any one of those games and go to 10-6, we don't make the playoffs in 2020. Lamar led the charge, and we went 5-0, including that Monday Night Football game against the Cleveland Browns, which was the toughest game, one of the toughest games we had on our schedule that year, and it was the toughest game of that 5-game stretch. If we lost that game in Cleveland on Monday Night Football, we wouldn't have made the playoffs in 2020. And yet Lamar still led the charge in that game. He came out the locker room, had that moment on 4th down, and helped us win that game. Lamar can make things happen. That's what happens
when you have an elite quarterback. That's what happens when you have a franchise quarterback. That's what happens when you have one of the elite of the elites. When you have a future Hall of Famer quarterback, he can just make things happen. So yes, we can win out with Lamar Jackson as our quarterback. Will we? That remains to be seen because at the end of the day, the defense still has to go out there and play. And if the defense still stinks, there's only so much you can do. Drew Brees played elite football in the mid 2010s. He couldn't help his sorry defense. His offense is putting up 30 plus points a game. His defense is giving up 35 plus points a game. You can't win like that. So if the defense continues to be trash, ain't nothing you can do. Your defense is historically bad. You're blaming the offensive coordinator. The math ain't mathing. What else is new in Baltimore under Harbaugh? John Harbaugh, born in the Weave Nation, the way he been dodging getting fired. What else is new? John Harbaugh literally calling plays also. Wouldn't be surprised in some of these moments where you really see certain decisions being made. I would not be surprised if that's more Harbaugh. John looks like he is trying to go through his CTE treatment. That's funny. That's funny. I told people don't have high hopes for Emory Jones. That dude's a rookie, and people were, dude, I'm not gonna lie. If Emory Jones goes out there and looks mid, Ravens flock will celebrate because if he's at least staying upright instead of falling on the floor like Falele, people will be screaming a storm of celebration. So yeah, if he can look competent, he doesn't have to look great. If he looks competent, Ravens flock's taken as a W. Why do our fans trash Bateman but ignore when Zay makes mistakes? Bateman's been here longer. He's suffered more injuries, and I think he had that 2023 year where he just couldn't make any plays, and people never forgot that. He's only had 1 year where he's been able to make a lot of plays consistently, and that was 2024. Meanwhile, Zay Flowers' rookie year was sensational, other than his rookie moment in the AFC title game, and then last year he became a Pro Bowler. So there's reasons for that. I'm ready for this team to collapse so that John realizes that he himself stinks at admitting that he has made the wrong decisions. Nothing's going to change, though. It is what it is. I just want John gone. I want him to resign, go away. He's not going away. You guys just have to deal with it. With that being said, guys, that is all I have to speak on. I have said my thoughts. I read the article to you guys, and I've given my own take about how I feel about this whole situation. Todd Monken is being scapegoated. There's no other way to look at it. He absolutely deserves criticism. No question. No denying it. Todd Monken deserves criticism. But the fact that we are just sitting here and acting like he's the only problem and he's the only one that's getting criticism is completely asinine. And it feels like they're trying to make him the scapegoat. And if that's the case, Todd, you're free to go, man. Don't let this team make you the scapegoat. Leave and let them figure it out for themselves. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Today is Saturday the 25th because it is 12:44 p.m. Obviously, we are going to be here on Sunday, so be on the lookout. We are going to be here on Sunday. We are going to be here on Sunday for the game against Chicago. So that game against the Bears, we're going to be here for that. And we'll see if Lamar plays. Season's on the line. I just want to point that out. Season is on the line on Sunday. They lose to Chicago, season is done. So we'll see what happens there. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you on Sunday. Will Lamar Jackson be on the field? We'll have to wait and see. But that is all I've got here today. Just wanted to speak on this because this did annoy me, and I wanted to give my thoughts. So we'll just see what happens with the Ravens moving forward. With that being said, that is all I've got. Be sure to stay safe, guys, and peace out. See you later, everybody.